is right next to me, and he is the board chairman of Uganda Registration Services Bureau. And next to him is Philip Kalibala, and he is the manager Registration Services Bureau. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We know that at this particular moment, we can assess and say that Uganda's contribution to copyrights, you know, to intellectual copyright and anything that is related to copyright is kind of aggressive. And the fact that we have hosted the Aripo diplomatic conference, you know, gives us the evidence that our contribution is quite massive. Can I speak to the chairman first?
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We are glad to be here and talk on this important topic of copyright voluntary registration. As far as Uganda is concerned, this is not the first one. We have been doing it. We have actually advanced very far in our copyright law and protection. But the difference now with Aripo conference and the instrument we are trying to forge out is that if you register your copyright in Uganda, you can only get protection here. If, for instance, somebody takes your novel or copies your novel in Tanzania or one of those outside Uganda, countries outside Uganda, you cannot enforce it. You will sell your copies and make profit. So
outside Uganda.
Outside Uganda. So how do we make sure that we enforce our copyright registration outside Uganda? And that's the beauty of this conference which has been going on. We are going to come out with an international protocol or instrument that will enable, for instance, if you register your copyright in Uganda, it will automatically enjoy protection in 20 member countries of Aripo. That's a very big area, and that's the big advantage that we will have. So what does it mean to one who owns the copyright? First of all, you will earn a lot of profit because you can have a big market to sell your product. Secondly, the country will also enjoy taxes on this, so it also benefits. The country benefits, and the individual copyright owner also benefits. So that is the advantage of this. And then the protocol would be known as Kampala Protocol on copyright and voluntary registration. Now, in international law, when you have a protocol that enjoys word protection at international level, it actually projects Uganda. Now Uganda has joined the family of international law on issues of intellectual property. We are now widely on the map of the world because now our instrument will get that international recognition.
Now you've in a very precise and well-defined way, you've answered my question of the importance of intellectual property on national level, and for the fact that we need to have this in order to grow culturally, socially, and economically. Now, the major aspects of international, intellectual property. Who exactly are we targeting? Are we talking about the authors? Are we talking about who has the right to rights?
Okay, you see, copyright is a very wide subject. It encompasses, for instance, authors of books, but also film actors. And in fact, the film industry is very, very wide. And if we can promote film industry in Uganda to such a level that it enjoys protection outside, then we have really entered Hollywood, if you like. And I think, so copyright is very wide. It's not only music and drama, it's also filmmaking, it is also sculptures, paintings. It's a very wide artistic world. Yes.
Okay. Now this question goes to the gentleman, Philip Kalibala, the manager copyright at Uganda Registration Services Bureau. We now understand that the creative industry is at the heart, you know, it is at the center of your heart. We want to understand the mandate of your mandate in this cause as Uganda Registration Services Bureau.
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, happy birthday to you. Services Bureau is a mandated entity. We are mandated under the law. We have multiple acts of parliament. First of all, we have the URSB Act, the one that created us. You know, it's an act of parliament. And then in that act, the registrar general is mandated with several registrations, which include intellectual property, giving rights ownerships and certificates. And of course, intellectual property is the broader subject of creativity, which includes so many other things, the brands, the technologies. But now we talk about the arts in copyright. You know, copyright is the broadest aspect of that intellectual property. And it's really about everything, as Chairman has just alluded to, or has just mentioned expressly, that it's about what we create, the arts, mainly broadly, content, music, films, pictures, and whatever, poems and all that. So under our Copyright Act, the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act 2006 created the Office of the Registrar, and it mandated URSB to manage this whole aspect of copyright, and then the management of copyright under the collective management organizations. So our registrar general is the registrar of copyright, and well, under there we do issuance of certificates, and of course we do management through what we can call the creators' organizations. People who create have their own organizations still under the law, and those are the collective management organizations. So that is the whole stretch. And through those organizations, we help with the commercial realization of content, like the users of content, like organized, like the broadcasters who are organized consumers. I think you're aware that we've been engaging broadcasters on the issue. Content is not free. You can only use content with authorization. And then when you use content with authorization, then it's also incumbent on you to remunerate the people who create this content. So that is about our power under that Copyright Act. And of course, now we have the protocol that the chairman has spoken about, which we are proud to say that's going to be the Kampala Protocol. Part of the protocol will be to create a database. Now, a database is very important because it's an awakening call. What a database means is that now we've reached a level, what Aripo is telling us internationally and also to provoke us nationally, is that now we've reached a level of we are going to account for everything that we have done here in Uganda. We have to have a record. We have to have a record. We have to have a storage facility for everything. You know, it's quite a shame that, okay, when something comes up and say, okay, how many songs do we have, audio works do we have in Uganda? There has to be someone who has to say that this is the number so far that we have in our database. And these are, and if we ask that,
we must have statistics.
There has to be something like that. And if we ask, okay, you have this content, who are the owners of this content? Even that has to be retrieved very easily. So that is precisely why we are dealing with this protocol, because we are provoked into now creating that. Remember that URSB is also the Copyright Information Center. In other words, anything to do with copyright, content that has been protected under the law, you can only get it from URSB. URSB is the primary under the law, although other people might be having their own databases. So that is really what we do under the Act. It's quite broad. There are also other aspects of it, but precisely, technically, that's what we are involved in.
Okay, so when you talk in that sense, the national intellectual property policy, yes, and looking at the whole perspective, who exactly can we focus on when we're looking for the major players?
When we're looking for the major, the heart of the IP policy, intellectual property policy, it created a value chain, what we call a value chain. How content is from the creators of the content, and then to the markets, the commercialization of content and of the content. So the chain is quite long. We have creators of it, and you know, creating content is very easy. It's actually very easy. It's part of the easiest. Right now we are creating content. This is where it starts. There is IP in what we are doing now. There is copyright in what we are doing. You being on this radio, on the television talk show, us being here. So now we creators of content, or this host, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation becomes the creator, the owner of the content. So from there, how does the content move? Then the content has to go into the market. By market, we mean commercialization. I think we are having a challenge right now in Uganda, and we need to appreciate it. All of us, we have to own this, that we are not rewarding people who create content. majorly we are using content free, and when you use content free, we are undermining first of all the economy. It's a huge thing because there are many players in this, so we undermine all that chain. People who create are not fairly rewarded, and then the acquisition of content is not organized. You see, because we've been dealing with people. Anyone just goes on the street. I mean, you have a CD, you have a flash disk, it has almost 1,000 songs, and then you begin a radio or you begin a disco club using that content. We cannot trace where did you get that content, who authorized you to use it.
And we do have that a lot.
Yes, because that's what's happening. That's the major aspect of piracy and infringement in our market. It's a huge deal because in the first place you asked the question, why are we aggressive now? I think if you look at Uganda's content landscape now, we are talking about music, we are talking about films. It is like a ripe mango that is even ready to fall on its own. I mean, now we are a content heartland. Young Ugandans
I also think the patent rights.
Yes, young Ugandans are creating films. Young Ugandans are creating music at an exponential level. Young Ugandans are creating art. We are on social media and everything. So where we are now is at the level of management. That's why actually we are aggressive, because right now at this critical moment, URSB, given our mandate under the copyright law, at this moment we cannot just allow this leakage. It is not, because the Act of Parliament gave us authority and mandate to do that. So that is exactly what we are supposed to do. We are supposed to influence an organization in the market, from the creators of content to the users, and see how the users access content. That is why this aggression is there, and of course the Kampala Protocol is enabling us. It's in the right direction in as far as content management is concerned.
I think the participation has been there for years, but maybe the enforcement is coming up right now. And in the era that we are living in at the moment, yes, the adoption on voluntary registration, yes, would be needed. Now in Harare, Zimbabwe, I think that was the 40th session. Yes, the Administrative Council have identified the need to adopt on the protocol. That is the protocol on voluntary registration of copyright.
Correct.
You mentioned a little bit about the voluntary registration of copyright, and you gave us a broader perspective. But now we want to know the major objectives.
Well, the major objectives, one, a chairman has said it initially, thanks to that, that first of all, there are about two aspects that you need to look at: market expansion, enforcement, and protection in foreign markets. That is very important to us.
But have we moved any step forward, or we are at the beginning level? In two ways. In as far, you see, we have to give credit to our young people. Our content has gone global. This is, I think, this is a full stop issue. When we say our content has gone global, that is a sentence that you put a full stop to. Now the question is, are we also benefiting when our content is played globally? But because even in the regional markets, and I can tell you what, in the regional markets we have a higher percentage of consumption of our own content in musical works. You go to Kenya, you'll find that our music is competing there favorably. You go to Rwanda, you go to Burundi, you go to South Sudan, you go to Congo. It's the same thing everywhere. So the issue is, in those markets, how do then our people get remunerated? Because I need to tell you that some markets are more organized than we are. They actually know the issue of giving back to creators. Tanzania does it well. So, but they might lack an international connection. It is not about you saying that my content is being used in Tanzania, so let me walk there and maybe go to the Ministry of Culture or go to the Intellectual Property Office and tell them my music has been playing here, give me my royalties. No, it is through these protocols. So that is the advantage, that we go international, and there is enforcement and protection in the international markets. The other objective that this protocol is giving us is the aspect of the database. A database is very sensitive. That is like the future. The database is a record. We are saying that Uganda and Africa, we have reached a level we need to account for our own creativity. Because the thing is that there is a risk that if we do not look out for that as an obvious step to achieve, someone else is going to do it for us. And that one, I'm telling you, that is just the reality. Someone in Europe will say, okay, I see Ugandan content is scattered everywhere, African content is scattered everywhere, let me create a database for this. And someone somewhere in Europe will be having a database of our own content. And it will become a shame that at a particular time when because a person who creates a database also in a sense owns the content. And it becomes a shame that
we might need that content and we need to access it at a fee. Okay. So it's important that we create it both nationally and regionally. Thank you.
Yeah. You actually put it out well when you mentioned about the outstanding gaps, yes, that this protocol will seal to fill, because we know that especially in the area of adoption, I don't know how best Ugandans will embrace this, or for years, how can we say that Ugandans have embraced, you know, the adoption on intellectual property or voluntary registration?
The coming into effect of a protocol like this one at the international level has stages. First of all, it will have to be acceded to by member states.
Oh yes.
What we call ratification. And if it gets the necessary ratification numbers, then it becomes operational. But that's no problem. I think we shall overcome it in time. And as I said at the beginning, for us, internally, we are almost ready to take off at the international level. And Mr. Karibara mentioned issues like enforcement, which is a problem, piracy, which is a problem. And these are the things the protocol should address beyond Uganda. How do you place what we call which is now well managed. Actually, what we are so we are moving forward. But now we have to coordinate beyond Uganda. How do we now coordinate the issue of enforcement beyond Uganda? And that's the bit of this protocol, that it will allow you now to do it. And also it will allow us to liaise with what we call collective management organizations. These are organizations by actually the very people who produce. Like in Uganda, the musical association, they have organizations. But now, because we lack protocol, we cannot enforce it outside Uganda. So, as we said, Kariba, there is going to be a database, which is very, very important. And that database will help us even the issue of enforcement and so on.
So when we call it the Kampala Protocol, aren't we limiting this protocol? No. Because the bigger picture is it has to be international. The benefits go beyond Kampala.
It is actually international. But at the bit of it, it is named after us. Now it will be a brand.
Oh, amazing.
Like Kampala Protocol, you know, this
Protocol.
Kampala Protocol. It gives us actually, it projects Uganda. It gives us a name, a big name. And everywhere we start citing Kampala Protocol, Kampala Protocol. That's the bit of it.
Well, you mentioned that internally, Uganda Registration Services Bureau is ready. But are the beneficiaries of this Kampala Protocol, of the voluntary registration services, are they ready in an era where we are battling with COVID-19?
Well, you see, COVID-19 has just come in. We hope it is a temporary issue and soon to be overcome.
And I think in any conference or any meeting you go, you have to go through the, you know, the testings, you know. So this kind of era, is it the right time for us to kind of enforce, to stand up and fight for what is right?
I think the timing is fine. If we have to wait for epidemics to go, we shall never move. If I can say so, we may live with it, for instance. You don't know. So you can't just wait and say, oh, the timing is not good. No, for us, we are going full blast. COVID or no COVID, they test you, it's inconvenient, but we move on.
Very.
Yeah.
So that same question I want to ask. Do you feel that, because he talked about you people being ready internally, but now the issue is these beautiful ideas that you have are not for URSP, they're for the public out there, for someone who has written her beautiful novel, for someone who has come up with a beautiful hit in music, for the drama that we have, the movies that we have in Uganda. So do you think that that specific category is ready for this?
Okay, Again, first of all, I will agree with Chairman that COVID is temporary. Let's not look at it as a permanent situation, although it has brought a change in the way.
Inconveniently temporary.
It has brought, it has given us ideas on the way we should approach. We have learned from it also. We've learned from it. So we believe that other strategies that we made even prior to COVID should sustain even after the epidemic has gone. Now, on the issue of readiness, first of all, we need to focus so much on the primary creators of content, That is from the basic level, as we say, omuntu wa wansi, from the artist on the street, the boy on the street who does painting of a picture. How then do they fit into the protocol, and eventually how do they go out? Is it beneficial to them? Now, I know that they are watching me here. They usually follow us, URSP, and on our social media handles. The creators in Uganda that we've been working with, including the CMOs, please know that this protocol is for your own benefit. About them being ready, URSB has to tell you that we have been in constant engagement with our creators of content. We have been in constant engagement for coming to 10 years now, because we have policies of engagement, strategies of engagement, and dissemination of information. We are going to assist these people be ready. That is the thing we can do, because what they do is to create content. What we do is to receive more content at a management level and at a national level. So as long as they are aware of the protocol itself as it is, to know that it's going to give them those benefits, first of all, we are going to create a storage of our own content, and then obviously your content being accessed in the international market with our 20 member states and over 300 million people. But also, as you've said, we are beyond our Aripo region. We are beyond Kampala being the name of the protocol, but we are global. We are working also with Afripi. Afripi is an organization based in Europe, funded by the European Union, that has funded this protocol. So that only shows you that there is interest beyond Africa. What we can tell our people is, let us not ease out on the creation of content. Ugandans need to know that our content has gone global. That is the issue. What we are doing now is to devise means of managing it even at the levels beyond our own stage. Okay, our own stage. It's simple, because you will not stop people from using content. You will not stop people from it. That doesn't work in this landscape. You will go to London, you will go to America, you will go to California, you will go to where you will find a Ugandan hit. You will find Birigita is there. Everyone is dancing to it. You will go to Europe, you will find people are dancing to it. That is the issue. That you are not, as long as the content is put on the market, everyone in the four corners of the world is going to access it. And the way these protocols are coming in are to say, okay, but it's not fair that these people are not being remunerated if their works are being used globally. How do we help them acquire revenue from that? So that is how these protocols come in. That is how these international instruments come in. And that is why we should be very aggressive also in supporting it. For you creators who are there listening to me, we are going to come out. We shall have strategies of telling you what this protocol is in detail in part of our dissemination going forward now after it has been declared the Kampala Protocol. We are just asking you for your support and understanding. It's a short treaty. It's about just 11 pages. So you can read, and the articles are straightforward. Read it, own it, know what it means, know the advantages it's going to give you, and just please, let's support it. Let's be part of the people who are going to ratify it, as Chairman has said, so that we can be able to benefit from it.
But we can't rule out the fact that even if we kind of do our part, even if we play our part to make sure that we are protecting this content globally, we will still have some people, we will still have some piracy. We can't rule that out. Now, the other thing is, you've elaborated more on the area of creativity. Now, creation of content. I want to understand the levels of protection. Let's say I write a movie and I take it to a specific producer. He writes, he designs the storyboard and everything, you know, and then gets the characters to fit into this movie. How are these levels, you know, justified in the area of protection?
All right.
Because if that this movie abagalana. Who is the owner of this copyright? We could be having 7 players in this specific movie.
That is very important, and it's critical in copyright. Chairman said it at the beginning that copyright is quite broad, and I want people to understand it. It is quite broad, and it's almost inconclusive, because the question you've asked, even today in Europe and America, the jurisdictions that we think that are higher than us, they are still battling over who owns what. Yeah, but because I always give the example of when we were still young, we used to watch this gentleman dance and Mubiru, Nendigai. I think he was, what did he call Sepen Nendigai? Very good character. He's a man who would multiply himself in so many areas. Like he was one person and a sheep, but he would act 5 characters. The same person, you go to the National Theatre, he acts as a woman, he acts as what, he acts as what. That is a bit unique. But in the real sense, even one song like this will have almost 10 people contributing to it. You'll have the musician that we know, who is Chameleon, and then you have the people in the produce. You have the gentlemen in the background, like the people who are producing this program. They are all there, and we are here. We are the ones facing the world. But we have so many people in the background.
Because why am I asking this? We've had in the media a lot of people coming out that Chameleon's hit, I was the songwriter. And there's no way you can justify that you wrote that. So now Chameleon is out there, he's viral, and everyone is on.
I'm coming to that. By the way, there are ways. I think recently you read in the press when Kaseu Ukira came out and said, I don't know whether it came to the attention of UBC, well, Kaseu Ukira came and said, unfortunately, unknown to you, all this popular music that you're hearing in Uganda does not actually belong to these people. It belongs to me. It's a claim. It is very important that there have been contracts that have been made. We cannot undermine this sector so much. There are people who have actually been brilliant from the beginning. They have made contracts. Copyright is about making contracts. And now you've asked the question that how do we know? First of all, the law itself has these provisions. We can help you. When you come to us and you say, I did the singing, I did the instrumentation, I did the creation, I did the what? The law has already segmented that. It already gives you a name. You are the producer, you are the performer. But without a written document,
yes, no way you can hide it.
So in absence of a written document, we can rely on the law. But it's a factual thing. You yourself have to tell us what you contributed to particular works. But if that is not done, because these are usually contracts, the people themselves that create this content already know, have already broken into who has done what, and that helps us a lot. Now, coming into the database, the advantage that will happen with this database, also the government of Uganda helping the creators, is that a database can help you identify the rights owners, whom we call the rights owners, because it's about rights. We have the copyright, that is a right. Then we have the supporting rights, the people who have enabled the creation of a particular piece of work. So in a database structure, in a case of data, capturing data, all those can be well highlighted. So we say that you are the performer, you are Chameleon, you are the one who sang for this on this song. But the producer of this song was different. Even the financer of this song was different. Even the person who was on the drum beats is different. And that is the way the rights are identified. They are there. They are both legal and they are both practical. And when we are remunerating these people, paying them for the works they have done, those are the chains that we follow for them to have. It's already straightened out. That should not really be so much of a problem. It's already provided for legally and also practically. Maybe
just a lead into this Kampala Protocol.
Yes.
Maybe what you can do, because usually when it comes to movies, it is the producer that's the overall takeover. So what you do is you come up with some rights for everyone that is involved in this particular movie, but you don't have to identify each and every section of the movie. You speak to the producer. Okay, is this movie yours? Do you have copyright for this? There's a form, a questionnaire that this person can fill in before they come in to register for copyright on this movie. And in that way, maybe we can ensure that there is protection on each and every level.
If I may come up here. What is Kalibara is saying is actually correct. The law is there. Producers, filmmakers,
but the implementation.
Now, implementation and also awareness. Yes. I think what the RSB is trying to do now is to start the awareness campaign.
Okay.
If you see, for instance, in the registration, we have even a van which goes all over the country.
I've not seen that one.
Yeah, you have seen. No, I've not seen
it's
that.
It's out there also. Oh. It's out there. Come with it. It's out there.
So we are really aware of this publicity campaign. It is important.
I think my point is we need to emphasize more on awareness.
Absolutely.
So that this goes on a bit faster. To fast track on these issues. Because we're a bit late, but now we have to put in more effort.
Absolutely.
Yes, to make sure that this, yes. I want us to talk about facilitating enforcement on the rights. We talked about ownership and then authorship. But you also said something interesting, that the database in the end will eventually bring in money for all the beneficiaries. But can we dance to that tune at the moment? Or it's a process?
I think it is a process. It's really a process, which is a good one, and
patience has to be there.
Absolutely. And the beauty of this is, at least now, we can talk of an instrument that will help us outside Uganda, that will help us access data, at least as far as 20 countries over Aripo are concerned. So we have now where to go, but you know, you take a step, but somebody said, you know, these people who went to the moon, do you know what they said? Step on the moon, it's a giant step for mankind.
You know?
You know? So we have the right direction. It's now, it's takeoff. Slowly, slowly we shall reach there.
So you can agree that this system will give reassurance of open doors to copyright owners?
The point that we are at here, we have to organize our content, and these systems are there to give us those advantages. That is the stage we have to agree now. The content is there. The reality is the content is there. Even if we assess, these young people, even in COVID, they have gone on creating content.
Creativity is massive in Uganda.
Yes, it's creative. It's just coming natural. We are facilitating ourselves to create this content. Now, the issue, the point, the stage at which we need to go next is the stage of organization, the stage of commercialization. You've also mentioned something to do with enforcement, and we're saying that yes, enforcement is true. We want to approach enforcement in two ways, in two tiers. Chairman informed us that we have an enforcement unit, which is true. We have an enforcement unit is there. And that is the Fiscal Enforcement Unit. So these are the guys whom rights owners tell, you know what, our content is out there and it's being pirated through CDs. You know, a person makes a movie, especially it's so common in films and in music also. And then you find that there are some young men who have invested in equipment down there in the plazas, and they are replicating these and they are selling them without authorization. So our enforcement comes in massively. And I'm telling you that, ladies and gentlemen who are watching me, it's criminal, because at a certain point, someone thinks that they are justified because our content is not organized. So someone is going to invest almost 50 million just in equipment to replicate other people's CDs. That is a huge investment to do something illegal.
And no one is objecting on that.
And because it had become a way of life. I mean, everyone, we know that they are in Zai Plaza, they are selling to the whole country, even exporting, you know, even exporting content. Someone,
and the prices are fair.
Of course, someone comes out with an album, they sing maybe a song, and then you find that someone somewhere in a plaza, in a small shop, they have invested in equipment and they are replicating CDs, even taking them across the borders, which is quite criminal. And
so the challenge, Philip, I'm sorry to cut you short. The challenge is also that the media, TV channels, the radio support. When I bring my BBC, not UBC,
of the street. They are also undermining their own content, because broadcasters need to be in a position to choose from a wide pool. It's a two-way. The broadcaster needs to be because if someone is just starting a career and they are bringing to your radio station, and that is the content that you are playing because people are paying you. I mean, eventually, how do you mobilize traffic to that? Obviously, people will go to will go to stations, will traffic to stations that are playing content that they are used to of popular artists. So it's a wrong way that the broadcaster is doing it in terms of consumption, but also the way the artist is doing it, the creator of the content, to take your content across the street. You're undermining the system, because the aspect of distribution of content is a powerful aspect both under the law and under the practice, that there has to be a distribution area where all users of content can buy content, whether commercial or creators of content can their content. Okay, that relationship here. And this is what we talk about. Part of what we're doing is actually the people, so that also the creators of content have to be very helpful to each other to see that they maintain the user content. But that is, if we leave it to the
understand that probably something that has been slowing down the growth of intellectual property is the missing gap of Aripo's nurturing, promotion, and protection. And I see now the gap is, the void is a little bit growing thinner. We want a little more on this area of, you know, that is Uganda Registration Services Bureau, government, and then Aripo. How you fight the piracy vice.
One way is actually why come out with this protocol. It's a framework for enforcement, a framework for sharing information.
And that has been a missing point.
That has been a missing point at that level. And so it's a right step in the right direction. And in fact, it leads us, because even at international level, there are other protocols or treaties regulating this copyright. So, but we are moving there. We are moving. There are many which we have not acceded to as a country. But if we do, like Berne Convention on Protection of Copyright, it is the international one. Once we accede it, and then you add on this one, you have now a wider territory that you can now look at. Yes. Okay.
So when we look at social media structure, we've mentioned more of, you know, how we're going to fight to make sure that copyright is protected in one way or another. There are a lot of beautiful, how can I call them? Beautiful, funny short movies that Ugandans make. The the WhatsApp, small videos. And I think some of them have begun to benefit through the YouTube channel. But I'm not sure if the public out there is going to embrace the fact that now they'll be limited to have access to these beautiful videos. Because now we have TikTok, it's all over. You know, you get into the application, you put out there your creativity, you act on something, and a bit of skitting. And then TikTok will help you to, distribute. So are we sure that we could break even in making sure that there is thorough protection?
Yes, first of all, restriction creates commerce. That is important to know. If you do it the opposite and you say that, like sometimes we say in our office that our content is on garbage disposals, it's just there, it was trashed. Anyone can just go pick up and then use and access content, which is quite unfortunate. Restriction can create commerce. What we do is that we want to create a restriction that benefits the creator of content and also doesn't undermine the whole economy.
As you're still answering that.
Yes.
The systems of social media have actually given it out there to the participants of social media that things are out there for free. As long as you create fame, you know, it is very easy for you. You can put out your contribution to the world and it will be out there. You don't have to pay me to distribute your contribution to the world. And I think also that system is somehow failing us. So people know that I can have access to 1,000 viewers in just 5 days.
Unfortunately, I think I need to emphasize this, that the piracy being occasioned by social media is the same piracy that the broadcasters here in Uganda were also occasioning but confusing creators of content. It is the same aspect, the same principle. We are promoting you, so give us your content, let's use it free, and
so that you get
exposed.
the fame.
That is quite unfortunate, because that is the trick that is there. Because I can tell you that internet is not free. Internet is not free.
Yes.
Yes, it is not free. No one, even if the government of Uganda gives it to us free at our level of retail, still someone is paying for the internet. And all these broadcasters, including TikTok, they are not doing the things free. We've already raised issues with YouTube, and in fact in some countries, YouTube has been scrambled.
Okay.
Even here in Uganda, some content on YouTube is not shown. And I hope that as going forward, we too can reach a position in Uganda to scramble this YouTube and also the content that it puts there. Because it is baseline for piracy and theft. Now, the issue with YouTube is that people have complained about it, by the way. It gives peanuts, yet it has all this huge traffic. Or almost its traffic is in billions.
Yes.
There is commercial revenue that is coming into the owners of this platform. Of course, they are foreign, they are not even Ugandan, yet our content is there and our content creates traffic. So it's quite unfortunate that YouTube and all these internet platforms are hoodwinking our people to think that actually they are giving them benefits. But because primarily you have to also realize that part of our, at least what our artists were saying that we benefit from concerts, okay? And at least the local player here, the local broadcaster, was giving that platform. That one we can decide that was our economy. Is the creators bring the content here, you play it free, you do not remunerate them, but at least they count on the concerts. But YouTube doesn't even give them that benefit. Instead, it gives them these peanuts. You know, you've caused this traffic. I'm giving you this.
1,000 viewers.
Yes, 1,000 views, and then they give you something, and then they retain the other whole thing. So the thing is that the way societies are approaching social media platforms, I remember an experience when I was in South Korea, is that unfortunately for us, Uganda, we think that it's almost a given that YouTube has to be in our market and we have to access the content free. You just wake up in the morning, but in some societies, there is restriction on what content someone can play in with YouTube. They will keep on scrambling. As long as the rights owners, what we want is that the creators of content can come to the institutions like Uganda, like UCC, like URSB, and say, actually, YouTube is the chief pirate of our content. Our content is there, it's being uploaded without our authorization. Then the systems can move to scramble because those options are there. Now,
with that energy and aggressiveness, and I shouldn't even call it zeal, he has that anger for piracy. Have we integrated that into our protocol? Do we have any way that we are going to fight that vice?
You see, the law actually provides for how to go about it. But you see, the question is,
because what I'm saying, Chairman, is that the law is there. It has been there for years, and it hasn't worked. Now this protocol seems to be that if we condense all this and just fit it into the protocol is going to fast track on issues.
You see, the protocol is not really replacing the law, the other laws.
But there are frameworks that are going to come up with it.
Absolutely. It provides for coordination and maybe enforcement at borders. I think that's why that protocol. But you see, the important thing you should really be aware of, and you have actually stressed it, is, okay, given all these laws being there and so forth, how are we now going to make sure that the producers of the content actually benefit, and not these other people who are pirating and so forth. So enforcement is very crucial.
But it's a long journey.
And it's a long journey, as you know. I mean, it's like other laws. You keep on enforcement. The lawbreakers come up with the other tricks. So we have to be constant on our watch. And that's how we can really move forward.
Okay. Right now we're going to take a very short break, but we still continue with please keep it with UBC TV. We are discussing, well, we will not have that break at the moment, just to remind you. Yes, the hosting of the Aripo Diplomatic Conference is majorly the issue we are at right now, and we're elaborating and expanding the issue over, you know, the Kampala Protocol, the voluntary registration on copyright and any other rights that relate to copyright. And we can't stress more on how you as a Ugandan should actually be part of this. We are all creators of something at some point. We do have authors of beautiful novels. We do have actors, you know, and we do have, I'm actually thinking there should be an actor's right, an author's right, you know, a producer's right, you see, so that we can all collectively fight the vice of piracy in this country. As we are ending, you know, this talk show, we want to have your last remarks, and I think we'll start with the chairman.
Well, as we end,
we start with you.
Yes.
Oh, he's crying. He was
no, the chairman will speak last because okay. Now I want to just thank Ugandans, and I thank you too. And I thank UBC for hosting us, but also remember that our sensitization program goes on everywhere we are. We sensitize. Now we are here. And I also think you should come up with a program. Yes. On UBC. Yes. Our sensitization almost consumes one of the biggest budgets in our work plans, but of course it's never enough. So we use all avenues to be there. Copyright is going international. It's going global. Is going global. I'll emphasize that our content has gone global, and we need to support each other to see that we get our revenue that is being piled up in foreign markets and we cannot access it through this kind of protocols and international treaty. I also want to inform Ugandans that something that we are not discussed in the main discussion, that our president himself was there to open up this diplomatic conference. And I think, as you've heard from our president is very much aware of copyright. He has also been asking questions concerning copyright and why things are not working out the way they should work out. So that one is symbolic to show you that actually copyright now has hit the highest level of our administration, the highest level. So it has become inevitable. We cannot run away from it. We only have to confront it. We just only have to confront it and see that it works for everyone.
So the conference is ending today?
Yes, our ministers will be there to sign the protocol.
Okay, amazing. Chairman, your last remarks.
First of all, let me thank UBC for giving us this opportunity to air our important views on this protocol, which is going to be signed today. My appeal to you is in the field of awareness, and let us be partners. Yes, UBC be partners with us in our endeavors to make sure that people who actually are copyright owners enjoy their benefits. The law says you can license it, you can sell your copyright and so on, but I think what is important is that let us all be together, and let's make sure that Ugandans know more about not only this protocol, but about the existence of intellectual property, which is there to help and also advance the country. I thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Philip, for joining us, and thank you very much, Chairman, and of course the Chairman who has been seated next to me throughout the whole interview is the Ambassador Francis Butagira, who is none other than the Board Chairman, Uganda Registration Services Bureau, and then Philip Kalibala, a very active and aggressive manager copyright, Uganda Registration Services Bureau. And we all understand at this point that Aripo, which is African Regional Intellectual Property Organization, together with Uganda Registration Services Bureau and the government of Uganda, did host the diplomatic conference, which started on 20th up to 28th today. Today is the day for signing the Kampala Protocol, and we are assured that, well, whereas things have not been moving well in the past, we do have a hopeful future where we know that the traffic lights will now light the light of green, and we will see some benefits. We will see creators, we will see authors, we will see copyright owners benefit from this specific protocol. And like I said, it is your duty and my duty to invite and embrace this protocol and work together with Uganda Registration Services Bureau, who are the major players right now in